obviously Lou recruited you and was part of it at some point. Whether he was the closer, whatever. Lou came in the living room at the house, right?
Yeah, he came in the living room. Way back in the 1900s, before, like, instant messages and things got around. You know, they tell that story of Bill O'Brien where you used to ride through, like, these towns. You would know that was him because that houndstooth hat would be in that back window and word would spread around. That kind of was like what it was in 1999 when Lou came to James Island. It was him, Charlie Strong, Chris Kosh. I'd say Chris Kosh, but Buddy Pugh swears up and down it was him. He was the closer definitely for our whole entire staff. And I just remember Lou came in, you know, didn't pay attention to me, had his whole spiel for my mom, my old man. But the whole time his nose was running, and it was like, you know, middle of the summertime, his nose was running just nonstop. And I was just like, man, this dude got a bunch of balled up tissues in my living room. And that's all I was thinking about. I wasn't thinking about nothing else but like Mr. Burns with this runny, wet nose. But that was definitely my first encounter with Lou in person. But yeah, man, he was the man. He was, you know, at the time you don't know what you're getting into, and that's the beauty of being young and dumb. You find somebody you can trust, and that was his whole deal. He gave, for me personally, you know, he gave us that life code: trust, care, commitment, and everything you do. You know, his whole mantra is, you know, you put that anybody in the world up to that test. If you can say 2 out of 3, you can live with that person. If not, if only one, you know, you got to get them out of your organization. And I mean, you can see it from his whole record, from South Carolina to Arkansas to Minnesota to William and Mary, NC State, all the way back to he's been a turnaround artist. And, you know, of course, getting his dream job at Notre Dame and winning the national championship, bringing a South Carolina guy in, Tony Rice, to do it. So, I mean, just Lou Holtz is, I mean, it's wild. I tell the story. I've been joking with people like Lou Holtz is 89, right? And so like he seems like he's been 89 since I saw him 23 years ago in my living room. And so it's like the Benjamin Button curse for him. He, you know, he's always was looking like an old guy his whole entire life, but so all his beauty and all his suaveness came later in life because he just always has looked the same for the last 30 years, in my opinion. So we saw him a couple years ago when South Carolina played Notre Dame in the bowl game, and you always see Coach from like the chest up, the waist up on TV, and that was the first time he came through the door when he had to walk, and we were like, oh man, Coach. But he still was sharp as ever, ran the room and paid great homage, of course, to Notre Dame. But of course, he gave a big shout out and did a big over the top deal for South Carolina and all the players that was there. So, and that's in typical Lou fashion, man. He's the man. There's the biggest thing I always say, in Preston and I and all the South Carolina guys, we always talk about, I wish we could have just remembered more, wrote down more. Wish we had these phones then to just record all this stuff then, because there were so many jewels. And I definitely know we could do some podcasts and do some talking points about this dude forever, for at least for a year. We got at least enough of that content.
Langston Moore with us, who played for Lou at South Carolina. Lou Holtz passing away today at the age of 89. Langston, are you talking about all the jewels and stuff? Because I was going to say to you, when you're young, man, you're listening, you're going, yeah, whatever, man. And then you get older and you start, like, you know, maybe taking some of that stuff that Lou said and you start putting it in your life, and you're like, it's like your dad. It's like, you ever notice, like, your dad or your mom, and they say stuff to you, they have these sayings, these things, and you kind of blow it off when you're a kid, and all of a sudden when you have kids, you start saying the same stuff, and you walk out of the room going, oh my God, I'm becoming my dad. Oh no.
No, it's in there.
At what point did you go, oh my God, I'm starting to talk like Lou Holtz?
Well, that was the amazing thing, because, you know, crazy enough, Lou came in there when we were 1-11. That was a Aubergine, Brad Scott. You know those folks. We all know the history. But Lou came in and we went 0-11. We didn't think we could get any worse, and we got worse. And so Lou had to change the entire culture. And so all these little, you know, trust, care, commitment, all these little isms, these little sayings, Brewer says them all the time, Kimberly, Preston, everybody who comes on the air in contact, even when we see each other, is just ingrained. And so we would be kind of, that's when the tide started turning, when you would start hearing guys like being the walking, talking emulation of like Louis Holtz walking around the deal. So, but definitely, we always say that, you know, the older we get, the smarter Lou gets, because, again, you just remember so much wisdom. You remember so many lifelong lessons. And, I mean, just personally, just when my father passed away when I was on campus, I mean, one of the first people I ever talked to was Lou Holtz. So, like, you know, just navigating all that stuff. And that's just my little story. There's tons and tons of stories out there of, you know, Lou being an SOB, most definitely, but there's so many stories of him being that dude of paying tuition or being there for somebody or finding a way for somebody to get to the children, get their kid to the children's hospital, or man, just so many of those things you'll never hear, and they should be heard of because that's Coach Holtz, that's Lou, and that fabric is it's cool to be woven into that fabric and to have South Carolina, because he's been through here a couple times. The first time I think it was through Coach Bass, and I don't know if you ever heard that story where Coach Holtz is like, he got hired, and then I think they fired Coach Bass the next day, and he reads in the newspaper, he's like, he wonders if this guy has any relation to my coach. Is like, no, of course, you fired. You just got this job, you're already fired. So point is, he's been through South Carolina a bunch of times, but always loved and respected, and he definitely will be missed, man. He's the man. We talk about him a good bit.
Langston Moore with us, who played for Lou at South Carolina. Lou Holtz passing away today at the age of 89. All right, so you say he could be an SOB, but I know you and Preston and Brewer and all you guys will say sometimes when he was the maddest, it was also the funniest. You guys had to turn your head so you wouldn't laugh because you'd be running laps till you puked. Give me one of those times where Lou was really fired up and you guys had to turn your head because you wanted to because it was also really funny, but he was even though he was so serious.
Well, I mean, so many stories. Oh man, I'm trying to think. So many stories. I mean, one of the funniest things ever. Because again, it doesn't matter the season or the time of year. Lou would always be in the same outfit all the time. It'd be like those gray kind of collegiate kind of coaching pants all the time, and a sweater. And again, Columbia, famously hot. This dude has on a sweater, but you didn't realize it was like one of these $1,000 air-conditioned, built-in cashmere sweaters that you get when you win the Masters type deals. And that's what Lou had. One of the stories all the time he tells when it was windy out there on the practice field. He tells the kid "Nah, man, I got my wallet on. You got to worry about me blowing away." I mean, just so many things, but absolutely the best when he was fired up. But you had to figure out a way to keep your composure in the meeting room because, I mean, him being a short guy, he's always, scanning. I see, what do you got? He's going to call you out. He's going to, that jaw's going to get to shaking and, all the spittle's going to be coming out full blood. But you got to figure out a way to hold it inside and then bring it up later. And hopefully somebody is brave enough to do it when we have a skid or when we went to a bowl game or something like that. But also Lou is, he's sensitive now. He's an artist. He's sensitive about his stuff now because, even though time has passed, you might not still be able to bring it up. But so many stories about Coach Holtz, and I'm sure we'll be pouring them in as the days and the weeks come in.
Langston Moore played for Lou at South Carolina, part of the biggest turnaround in history. I got about a couple minutes left here. Kind of talk about after you lost 21 straight, and you're sick of losing, you're tired of losing, and then all of a sudden the turnaround starts. When did you guys really feel like we got something special going here and we could really do some damage in that year you guys went to 8 wins and won the Outback Bowl?
It was actually kind of the season before. The last 2 games, it was really close between Clemson and Florida here at home, and it got really close. I mean, we lost both of those games, of course, finished out the season over, but that was kind of like the tide was turning, and that was the magic of Coach Holtz of keeping us engaged from that December, because it was a long off season going, and again, we had to start back at the bottom of the hill with none of the results, and that's really, really tough with young folks, period, with anybody, period, to have some, still got to delay some gratification, and still had to wait a couple more months till we saw the Mexico State, Boise State, and those folks, and then it just started rolling from there. Of course, beat Georgia at home, the second, third game of the season, and man, it was just off and running. And from there, that was also the other thing. Never, once we started going, never felt like, is it a deal where we're going too high? It never was a feeling like, are we falling or flying? It was, we knew exactly what we were doing. We were all focused, even though we weren't the most talented team. We were the most disciplined. And it's amazing, man, that whole toughness plan, there's a whole plan that Coach Holtz showed us how to win football games, and you saw Charlie Strong adapt, see all these folks adapt, and I took it to the NFL when I played all these losing teams, and we had all I had to do was just put this little Lou Holtz test up to what we did wrong with the Detroit Lions. I was like, man, we weren't tough enough, we didn't run the football, we was bad on third. Lou Holtz still was right, man, just kind of like your parent, but, I wasn't the head coach, so it wasn't my job to share that information, but you could see it. He taught us how to win life and win football games, and that's the biggest thing beyond football. I learned how to win some football games, but the biggest thing, as trite as it sounds, is he showed me how to win in life for sure.